The opinions expressed in the following program are not necessarily those of Eastlink Community TV, its sponsors, or partners.
Hi, I'm Cecil Clark, and welcome to Cape Breton Connects. I'm pleased to be your host as we explore the stories behind the news and the features that people see, and the people behind the stories of good work and activities in our communities throughout Cape Breton Island. Today I'm joined by Dave Julian, President and CEO of the New Deal Development Association, as well as Executive Director of Future Growth Co-op. And this is all about housing today, Dave, so welcome to the show.
Thank you, Cecil. Proud to be here.
So a little bit about the history of this. New Deal has been involved in future growth and housing for a couple of decades now. Can you provide us some background to how you've been involved, and also what does this mean for the community and your board of directors of volunteers?
Our board of directors is made up of only 6 volunteers in the community, and been working tirelessly for the last 40 years. This is our 40th anniversary as a community group. We've accomplished a lot in that 40 years. Mainly a lot of our big accomplishments has been affordable housing. We have a 20-unit affordable housing unit now on the same site as this one here that you can see in the background. The new building will be 22 units of affordable seniors housing.
In society, we know that shelter is a basic human need, and having adequate, suitable, and affordable housing is a requirement that CMHC and the provincial governments look for, affordability being key. Thus, the reason why you folks as volunteers go out and take on debt to provide quality housing and to make it affordable. And to do that, you also have to go through extensive processes. Can you provide us a little bit of background for the viewers of what it's taken to get to this point for this new development?
It started back March 2nd, 2019. At one of our board meetings, we decided to go ahead with our plans. We had a 3-year plan in effect, and it took us just about 3 years to come to the start of this project. A lot of trials and tribulations, I would say. A month after we started the project, COVID-19 hit, which everybody knows was a terrible thing. It slowed down things considerably. Very few in-person meetings, all Zoom meetings and so on. After that, we had another problem with building supplies going through the roof. The costs were gone up on not only building supplies, but labor. And then the final thing that we had to overcome was the interest rate. The interest rate went up 5 times since we started. So we had a few hurdles to overcome.
And so to our viewers, I would like you to note that these volunteers have taken on a $3.8 million project to provide 22 units of affordable housing, but also at the end of the day, between federal and provincial contributions that do mean $2 million, you as volunteers are taking on an obligation of $1.8 million. You did that before with the existing building. How has it worked out for you and the board on the affordability, but also the manageability of the debt financing for your project in the past?
Well, the word affordable is just that, affordable. To build a building that's going to be affordable for folks that can actually afford to be in it is quite a task. You have to make sure that you're on budget, on time with the build, which I think we will be. And the outcome is going to be 22 families here on the north side area and around. Actually, some are from all of CBRM with applications in, and we have quite a few applications. But in the outcome, there's going to be 22 families that are going to have a nice, clean, affordable home to live in and be proud of.
And so with these units, people come in, are there any subsidies or any programs that support the tenants? Is it a mix of people that come in, and is there thresholds that have to be met, Dave, for people to have access to this quality, like I say, suitable and affordable housing?
Yeah, one of the stipulations that's put in by the province is $52,500 is the max you can make.
So let's talk about the units themselves. The tenant that comes in, what is it that you're looking at when you have to do these new constructs versus the existing? There's a certain amount. I think part of what it is when we talk about housing and like almost $4 million, it's a lot of money. Working with the municipality, people like when I remember with CMHC, you talked about transit routes and all the conditions that had to be met. So can you walk us through a little bit of that?
Sure. Problem with the living in pretty well anywhere in Canada now is affordable housing. Seniors are probably the hardest hit with all the increases, but they're on a fixed income. So our building here is going to be a beautiful building. There's going to be 22 units, 4 2-bedroom, 18 one-bedroom. There's a cap on your income. If it's 52,500 or greater, you don't qualify. And there's also subsidies that are available through the province that we will be applying for our residents to help them with their rent. Also, in the last year, we have been working on the building so that it's totally closed in. Right now we're doing the gyprocking. That should be finished in another 2 weeks, and then we'll move on from there. But in the rooms, there's 2 totally accessible single bedroom units, and 18 are just the regular units. Right now we have a waiting list of probably 100, 150 applicants looking for the building, looking to get in, seniors. I think people realize that here, especially in CBRM, there's a need for affordable seniors housing. We're trying to provide that, but we can only go a little at a time. We're 22 units here, 20 in the other, we have 42. We could probably fill 2 more buildings if we had the funding. The funding came through CMHC and the province, and working with those folks was, at times it took a lot of time, in my opinion, with red tape and stuff, but we got through it. And we really appreciate what has been done with the province, and especially with CMHC as well.
Well, we talked about doing a project and coming through the process of having COVID and challenges, market, supply chains, all those things you referenced. But the other thing we did have was Mother Nature, and we had hurricanes and other weather events that have been challenges. So there's another aspect of supporting seniors and vulnerable that may not have a lot of family, but these complexes that when a major power outage goes, can you explain working with government and as a board, that the volunteers coming together, what you did? I think of the existing building here, the Emmett O'Connor building, that you were able to respond and meet some of the needs, and what the wider community did to support the seniors when it was vulnerable, and some of the actions since to help provide further supports in the post-hurricane aftermath.
Hurricane was quite an event, to say the least. Power was out in most places around. We and a lot of other volunteer groups in the community stepped forward to help not only this one, but a lot of other seniors that were vulnerable with no power. Some had no relatives to help them with them. So right now we're trying to compile a list of names of vulnerable seniors in our area, so that we'll have a list, and we'll try to work on a system so that we can notify them or check on them more frequently than we have been in the past.
And I think the wider community, once people knew seniors were vulnerable in a major catastrophe that happened and power outage, I think the fire department stepped up. People were there to support this group of seniors, and now with a wider group, and also some of the recreational space where people could come together and have that security of numbers. I mean, it's really a phenomenal story, and it's great to see community supporting community and citizens helping citizens, and a lot of seniors supporting seniors.
That's correct, and as you mentioned, fire departments, community groups all stepped forward. At one point we had more food in here than we could actually handle, so we started delivering it to other units that needed, other buildings and stuff in the community. So the community came out 100%.
And these are the things that people don't often see, is that, you know, at a time when we see so many challenges and so much negativity, the positive in people coming out. And again, going back to your volunteer board, there's 6 of you that volunteer, as I mentioned before, taking on debt, managing issues day by day, looking for supports to get generators in place, roof replacements, and at the same time doing community festivals to add to the community spirit and the vitality of the wider North Side area. It must be rewarding as well. I know you have to take on a lot of governance risk at a time where there's accountability, but it must be worth it at the end of the day, just to have that satisfaction to know you're making a difference in people's lives.
It does, and I would like to really make sure that I thank the board. We're a small board with 6 folks on the board, and what New Deal and Future Growth has done in the last 1.5 to 2 years is phenomenal. It's been probably, as I said, 40 years since New Deal had started. Future Growth was created back in 2005 to do a lot of our housing. In the past, New Deal especially had, there was different forms of governance that we had, led by back Emmett O'Connor, and then Joe Tobin as president, and then myself. So we've come a long way in those years, and there's a long way we still have to go. Our future is bright. And we have some more plans on the table that we're trying to work out in the next 5 to 6 years.
Well, I know Dave, as a former fire chief in Florence and surrounding areas, been involved for over 3 decades in fire service, supporting community activities, not-for-profit, first responder activities, community events and activities, employment programs. This is just another feather in the cap that I want to compliment you and all the volunteers that have come out over the years to sustain our communities, and the people behind the scenes that aren't out looking for profile, but are actually looking for projects and outcomes that matter in the lives of fellow citizens. And it's about building and sustaining communities. And I think this is a part of the good that we need to explore further and to also embrace. And I think as an organization, do you see potentially another building on the horizon?
Yes, we do. We're probably could put 2 more buildings up and fill them without any problem. So in the future, we're looking at trying to create more affordable housing.
And there we have it. That ends this segment with our folks here doing good work in the community for affordable seniors housing. I'm your host, Cecil Clark. And welcome back. We've now journeyed across the community of Sydney Mines to Sydney Harbour, and we're now going to go on a journey of remembrance here at the Atlantic Memorial Park. And my first guest is Cyril Aker, founding member of the board and driving force behind this with your colleague Brian. Cyril, welcome, and maybe just provide a little bit of background of how did you make all this come together?
Well, it wasn't an easy task, but we formed a board of directors called the AMP Society, and we set about to develop a plan for this area. And we had a consultant engineer, Dillon Consulting, who put the plan together for us, and we had to apply for funding through the various levels of government to the amount of about $1.2 million. And that's got us this far. We have multiple phases to the project. The next phase would be development down at the beach, and then we're going to try to do the underground structures you see behind me there. That's another phase. So it all takes time, and we had some interruptions with COVID, of course, along the way, and everybody knows the effects that has had. But we keep going, and we've got to this point here through a lot of dedication, a lot of hard work, and the results are starting to show now, and people are just waiting for us to be open. They come to the gate and say, "You open yet?" Well, we don't have an exact date yet, but we're getting close.
And you have been on this journey of remembrance, as you say, and it's something that's evolved. Your stick-to-itness, as they say in Sydney Mines, has been phenomenal with you and Brian Ferguson driving this and getting that $1.2 million. But not only that, you have acres upon acres of land that the province and municipality have donated. The community stepped up, not-for-profit groups, all to make sure that the Guardian of the Gulf here at the mouth of Sydney Harbour and the role during the Second World War is not only forgotten but is celebrated and incorporated with our Mi'kmaq community as well.
Yes, yes indeed. Well, we have a motto. It's called the Seaside Journey of Remembrance, that brings our military history home. So the focus right now is on the military history, but this area is steeped in not only military history, but the coal mining history, steel making history, and it was just such a temptation to try and develop something around that. First of all, to try to make an attraction for tourism, and to bring some income into the community and create more business. And it's already doing that, and it's not open yet.
Yeah, and you've been on this journey since the 1970s trying to propose this destination. Job well done, and kudos to you and the entire community celebrating remembrance, but also looking to the future and helping to honor our past. So to you and your 9 other board members that you're part of, job well done, as I say.
Thank you very much.
Joining me now is Clarence Daw, former president of the Nova Scotia Nunavut Command of the Royal Canadian Legion, and now serving as district commander. Thank you very much for joining us, Clarence.
Thank you.
Now, growing up in the community of Sydney Mines, everyone has seen Chapel Point and know it, and it's a great storied history in terms of people socializing over the years. What does this place mean to you as a member of the Legion?
Well, it's historical, and we have to keep our history. This building and surrounding area here is very significant to Sydney Mines. It was known as the barracks by those that visited here, and many stories, many different tales. But it's historical, you know, to see this new building resurrected, and it brings to life and it shows the young people part of our history.
And that's so important that for the older members of the community, especially in the Legion, have an appreciation of what the Guardian of the Gulf and what having the battery here and the barracks as people have known it. And again, for decades, it was a social spot where teenagers came as part of their growing up and having good times. But really talking about the future and the importance of our journey of remembrance for us to see this moving forward. So how do you see this and playing a role for children and youth going forward for their education?
It's very educational to find out that this site here was significant during the war, Second World War, and shows from the Guardian of the Gulf, this was a big part of it. Like all around the harbour, all these sites played a major role in protecting the harbour.
It's very important that isn't lost over the course of time, and in fact it's celebrated and truly is a journey that you folks are working hard as a part of the board so that this grows out as part of that master plan of remembrance and inclusion with our Mi'kmaq community as well.
Yes.
So thanks very much for being part of this, and good luck as you folks continue to roll out and launch from unveiling to official opening of Atlantic Memorial Park.
And thank you.
My next guest is Dale Romeo, a 42-year veteran of the Royal Canadian Navy and part of the board of the Atlantic Memorial Park and serving as curator. Thanks for joining us today, Dale.
Thank you.
So with your military past and the history and the knowledge, you had to come on the board and also provide, I guess, a level of expertise you can bring for the curating, because this building literally had been abandoned for decades after the Second World War, and you started from nothing as a team. So can you explain how you've gone about and the board has gone about putting the animation and the materials together so that people can have a living history lesson here on this journey of remembrance?
Well, first of all, we had to get the history itself, reviewed it in various books over at the Breton Institute, and just around the area asking people questions about what was here when they were. And we got a number of people who were actually delivering newspapers to the commanding officer here, and they had a lot of information for us. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to look at the area, Chapel Point, and this area is very steeped in history. The first fort that was built here was built in 1864.
Wow.
And before that, in the 1700s, there was a battery a little ways up the harbor here, and it was protecting the coal mines. And that's basically what these fortresses were doing. And in the First World War, they had guns in this various area. And then in the Second World War, this was built.
And so with this, and just speaking of that, you mentioned people seeing this and providing information and connecting the dots from their family and the living history of Chapel Point and the Atlantic Memorial Park. Do you find that people are saying, hey, I found this picture of a loved one, and are sending pictures or giving you memorabilia that you can add to the whole experience here?
In fact, we have a number of people that are doing that. And they're cleaning out the houses and whatnot, and they're coming up with memorabilia, and they're giving us a call and asking us if we could use it, and it's worked out very well up to this point, and we hope to be getting more artifacts.
So I know that both you and Clarence, having served in the military and having that special connection to what was part of our service to the broader interests of peace and democracy and protecting Canadian soil. So as a veteran, can you explain a bit about how does this relate to you personally? How do you feel that connection as a member of the board that drives you to put all this effort into curate here?
Well, I think the biggest thing is looking at the history of Sydney Mines. A lot of people do not know that there is a naval history or a war history here, where there was, like, since the 1700s, we had soldiers that were posted here, guarding the coal mines, guarding Sydney Harbor, guarding, the general area from whatever may be coming in through the harbor. And so, often people will say to me, well, we didn't know that. We were never taught that at school. We weren't down around here. There was no lessons on this. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to provide those lessons.
And they're great lessons, and as you mentioned, people will forget some of the living history that's been part of it, like the coal mining and steel, that the first steel plant was actually in Sydney Mines before it was moved, coal being very much part of all of our families, including mine. And so I think this also, when you reference the whole military, Navy, service, it's all connected and it's all about playing that key role. And here at the mouth of Sydney Harbor in the North Atlantic, the role of Guardian of the North by so many people that were both in uniform and civilians that supported the military presence here, something very proud of. So to you and your entire team, we look forward to continued prosperity and for this center, but also the official opening coming. So I bet you'll be busy getting ready for that.
Well, we certainly will be, and we'll be moving forward in the very near future with more artifacts.
Thank you so much for joining us as part of the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, there you have it, folks. We have one community, but two very different projects. But the one thing in common with both those projects are volunteers, the heart of our communities, as all of you know. People that make a difference because they have a purpose for their community, pride of place, but they need to have a plan to make these projects a reality. We've seen the patience required of volunteers to get the job done. In both examples today, for providing quality, affordable seniors housing, or a journey of remembrance for the Atlantic Memorial Park, volunteers have put in years of effort, but the results are amazing and making a difference in this community, and I believe a true Cape Breton Connect we can all be proud of and look to a brighter future because of our volunteers. On the next Cape Breton Connects.
The camaraderie among coal miners, there's not enough adjectives for me to describe how well we got along with one another, how well we looked after one another. It's an amazing family to work with.
Oh, it's a great experience. I'll never forget it. Just being a miner was an experience I never thought I would enjoy, but I did. And after doing them 32 years, I just come over here just to see about it. And this here was a great experience.
I look forward to coming to work every day, same as I worked in the mine. I enjoyed working in the mine, believe it or not. Then a lot of people hated it, not me. I just wanted to get to work and be with the guys.